Material stocks and all the other risk-based stocks are on the upside today. Let's go back to the hearings and to Chairman Bernanke.
Who obviously comes from a particular school of economic thought, and he talks about the tax increases that are coming. We know they're going to happen. The top marginal rate is going to go up. The dividends rate is going to go up. The capital gains tax rate is going to go up. And the fundamental principle in economics that government policies change people's behavior, and they have an impact. I mean, I think about my home state, Ohio. We have a pretty high marginal tax rate, income tax rate, and people leave because of that. We think of states like California with their tax rate. And you also, I think in the very first questions from the chairman, talked about the potential or the concern that's still out there about a double-dip recession. So talk to me about those tax increases that we know are going to happen. I mean, the administration and this Congress have been very, very plain about that. They're going to raise those taxes. What impact that may have on the growth that you're expecting to continue through the remainder of this year and into next year?
Well, the timing is critical. So we have a recovery underway now. So in the very near term, increased taxes, cuts in spending that are too large would be a negative, would be a drag on the recovery. At the same time, as Mr. Ryan and others have pointed out, we need to convince markets that in the medium and longer term, we have a sustainable fiscal path. So the ideal strategy, in my view, is to provide soon a plan for balancing our budget, or at least bringing deficits down over the medium and longer term. Now, again, I'm not going to try to adjudicate for Congress, exactly how that should be done, but I would say that in the short term, that you should, as you look at fiscal issues, you should take into account the recovery and the strength of the recovery.
Well, let me pick up where you were about a plan in place. I would just point out that last year I offered on behalf of the Republican Study Committee the only balanced budget in Congress. We introduced it again 2 weeks ago. And frankly, I would invite you to take a look at that. We'll get you a copy. We'll get you the analysis of it to look at that. The 10-year plan that actually reaches balance in the 9th and 10th year does not impose tax increase. We think does the right things. We think strikes that balance you were just talking about. So I would ask you to take a look at that. Let me just do one last question, if I could. On page 5 of your testimony, you talk about this sustainability and how important it is, and that if we don't get a plan in place or a path to sustainability, it'll sap our nation's economic vitality, greatly increase the risk of economic and financial instability. As the head of the Fed, and speaking to this committee, speaking to the American people, in practical terms, if we don't get a plan, what does it mean to families across this country? What does it mean to the small business? In real terms, how would you describe where we're headed if, in fact, we don't begin to turn this thing around, if we don't begin to get some common sense and make the tough decisions you've alluded to earlier in your answers? What it means in real terms to families and small business owners and taxpayers across this country, what it means for the nation. And
one of the main channels would be if confidence was lost in our long-term fiscal stability, we would see our interest rates go up quite a bit, as we already seen in Greece and other countries. And that would affect, of course, consumers' ability to buy houses and automobiles, et cetera. It would slow our economy. It would, by reducing the value of government bonds, it would put pressure on the balance sheets of financial institutions. So it would cause a lot of stress in the economy, and in the worst case would cause financial instability, like we're seeing, to some extent in Greece. So if you want a strong economy, you need to have capital investment. You need to have consumers' ability to buy houses and automobiles and so on. And the high interest rates that would make it even more difficult to balance the budget, because interest payments are part of the deficit.
Their interest rates are, I believe, within 2 years, we're on a path to pay $1 billion a day just in interest on the debt. I mean, that's how out of control it's getting.
Our interest rates now are very low.
I understand that.
So that's the concern would be that they would go higher, and then it would be much more difficult and disruptive to make the cuts and make the changes you have to make in the budget to meet the fiscal goals at that point, with interest rates much higher.
Thank you.
Mr. Etheridge.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the hearing. Mr. Chairman, thank you for being here, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
I was here, and I remember in 2008 when Congress didn't step up to the plate when we were requested to do so when credit markets froze around the world and the stock market